expert matters, as I like to call all three of you. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for coming as quickly as possible. This is an incredibly important study for all of Canada. In my view, it is long overdue. We are just pleased that we're finally launching it. Question to Mr. Campbell to start. The federal gun ban and confiscation scheme is an absolute disaster. Police, academics, licensed gun owners, and everyday taxpayers know that targeting lawful firearm owners won't make Canadians safe. You, sir, are on record saying, quote, "We know that the gun buyback program is going to have essentially zero impact on the crime in Toronto," end of quote. The Public Safety Minister, Gary Andasangari, certainly doesn't seem to think it'll work either. He admitted on a leaked audio recording that legal gun owners aren't causing crime and that police services likely don't have the resources to follow through on the project. Does the Toronto Police Association and your members, sir, believe that the Prime Minister should fire the Minister of Public Safety? Yes or no?
So I don't want to weigh in on who should be fired at this time, but I definitely would want to comment on the gun registry and the impacts on safety in Toronto, if that's possible.
Please.
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line, the City of Toronto is the gun buyback program would not have any impact on the violence we're seeing in the city. The violence we're seeing in relation to firearm offenses is essentially exclusively to a small number of gang members, thugs using illegal firearms. Most of the time they come across the border. About 90% of the 700 illegal firearms we seized last year came across the border. And most of the time people on bail or are prohibited from using a firearm. And I can say in the City of Toronto, it's a very challenging thing when it comes to funding public safety. And I'm sure if you asked the Mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow, or Chief Myron Demke of the Toronto Police Services how they could use even a fraction of the $750 million, we'd find a lot of better ways to spend that money to actually improve public safety in our great city.
Okay. I listened very carefully, sir, to the recommendations that you made to the committee in your opening statement. There is, in my view, a lot of similarity to what you are proposing to what our party has been proposing. And in fact, we've introduced a new private member's bill called the Jail Not Bail Act, and I believe you were at the press conference a few weeks ago. At the heart of that bill is to replace the so-called principle of restraint under Section 493.1 of the Criminal Code, which essentially states that judges must release the accused at the earliest opportunity on the least restrictive conditions. And practically speaking, that means regardless of what the offense is, regardless of the impact that it has to the community or the victim, regardless of the criminal record, which may establish a pattern of breaching court orders or a pattern of committing the same offense over and over again, and quite frankly, regardless of the number of prior releases the person may be on, that person should be released. At the core of your recommendation, sir, do you believe the principle of restraint has to be rescinded?
Yeah, we do, and we've called for that. And in the end, and I want to repeat, it is not about politics for us, but it's our members having to go see the mother of an 8-year-old just a few weeks ago that was shot and killed while sleeping in his bed beside his mother. One youth's been arrested, 2 are still outstanding. They're both on release using illegal firearms, and so something needs to change. Our members, as my friends here have talked about, are frustrated. They really are doing their best, putting their lives on the line, and something needs to change, and we need to make sure the small number, it's a small number in the City of Toronto, of really violent individuals are not out there wreaking havoc on our streets every day.
For over 4 years, all three of you, as well as all other members of the police associations and services, premiers, MLAs, mayors, victim advocacy groups, have been pleading with this Liberal government under the leadership of Justin Trudeau and now under Mark Carney and all the various justice ministers to implement immediate bail reform change to keep Canadians safe. why, in your opinions, in your collective opinions, I'd like to hear from all three of you, in your opinion, why has your pleas fallen on deaf ears by this Liberal government?
I mean, I can start with, I will say, for the first time, we did meet with Sean Fraser. We met and we explained exactly the same things I'm saying today. The same information we have provided to the Conservative Party, we provided to Sean Fraser as well. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I say to anybody that's not sure what to do, come on out to a ride-along in the city of Toronto. You see some of the violence going on. You see the victimization. This is not about someone that's made a mistake or some minor criminal offenses. This is just a small number of really violent thugs and criminals that are causing all the problems in the city.
Thank you. I believe the Justice Minister needs to go on a ride-along very, very soon.
We'll take anybody anytime in the city.
Time's up, and perhaps one of the other members will allow the other two to complete their thoughts on this, but we'll turn this.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I want to thank all three of you for your attendance today. I just want to clarify something. This is our bail study. The Conservative Party advanced this bail study as priority number one at this Justice Committee, and it was the Conservative Party who invited all three of you to attend, so we're very grateful for your attendance. Now, it's amazing. This is a question to you, Mr. Campbell. It's amazing what you can find on social media. I was scrolling social media during the last half an hour or so. Yesterday, downtown Toronto, on a busy street, captured by video surveillance, is a gentleman, and I'll use the term very loosely, standing on a sidewalk, assembling what appears to be an AK-47 in broad daylight in heavy traffic. Do you think that type of person, or the gangbangers or the thugs that are terrorizing our communities from coast to coast,
Mr. Brock,
would be...
a point of order from Mr. Cheng.
Joint study.
I think you said, Mr. Brock, that it was considered. I think it is, in fairness, a joint study. And
It's a joint study, but the bail issue was a Conservative motion,
Okay, well,
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
And in fairness, there were witnesses that were brought forward that weren't solely from the Conservative list. If the clerk correctly, I have no reason to question that. 2 and 1, yeah, okay. Anyway, that is what it is, but just, we froze your time, so please go on.
My time is frozen, thank you. So you tried to ruin my clip, but we're going to get it back on track. The thug that I just described to you on a downtown Toronto street, is that the type of person or a gangbanger that would likely want to return that particular AK-47 as part of the Liberal buyback program?
No, and we've said it many times. The gun buyback program will not impact the violence we're seeing in the city of Toronto. Rediverting some of those resources would.
Thank you. I was very fortunate enough to attend TPS about 3 weeks ago this Friday, had a ride along, saw firsthand what you're describing to this committee, but I also received a number of startling statistics in terms of the number of people out on bail on murder charges and serious gun crimes. Do you have any statistics today or within the last few days to share with this committee as to the number of people in downtown Toronto on bail?
I don't, but I can get that for you, absolutely. But I do want to mention, as it came up around youth, we had over a dozen youth charged with murder this year in the city and 102 illegal firearms seized from youth in the city. I think it's an important stat.
And you have youth as young as 12 years of age on bail right now for first-degree murder. Is that correct?
We do, and it is completely common to see someone out on bail either for a previous shooting or firearm charge. It happens all the time.
Thank you. Chair, I'm going to cede the rest of my time to Mr. Shipley.
We have a little over 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for giving me that time. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't have a little bit of a conversation today here about the actual frontline officers, the men and women who serve our communities. I'd like to mention 2 tragic incidents that have happened over the past couple of years. Last year, there was Constable Jim Peters, a Barrie police officer, was stabbed while on duty by a repeat violent offender who was on probation at the time of the stabbing. Thankfully, Jim survived that attack. But in 2023, OPP Constable Greg Priscilla, who is a Barrie resident, was ambushed and murdered by a violent repeat offender who was out on bail under a lifetime firearms ban. Gentlemen, you 3 represent a lot of officers. You're the presidents of your association. I think we need to talk about how these type of incidents, how these repeat offenders are affecting the wellness and the mental health and the morale of your officers.
partnered in sorry, did I interrupt that? I just partnered in a research project with Dr. Nick Carlton at University of Regina. We looked at publicly available data from 2011 to 2014. We had over 245,000 assault police officer charges laid in this country. Our police officers, our members, are being assaulted in this country by these offenders that we're talking about every day. In April of this year, in my home service in Vancouver, we had an offender try and light a police officer on fire by pouring a flammable fluid on the officer while the officer was in the process of trying to arrest this individual. That's just one example. You've alluded to others. There are many other examples of police officers getting stabbed, seriously assaulted, and all of those, fortunately, did not become those kinds of tragedies like happened to Constable Porcello. So it's happening every day. We're not paying enough attention to it, and we ought to, because we're also experiencing a massive recruiting retention challenge in our sector right now, and in part, it's because of that. Because why would somebody want to come into a regime where they're exposing themselves to this kind of risk every day, but then are not being supported by heads of institutions, by elected officials, in some cases, by other statutory bodies that are in place that are tasked with investigating these incidents when they happen. So it's a real challenge.
That completes Mr. Shipley's